It's been a little bit since my last update to all things PlayStation 4 emulation, and I did want to talk about it today on the channel because all of a sudden PS4 emulation has become extremely important. Now, this was reported by Bloomberg just a couple of weeks ago that Sony has scrapped the Ghost of Yotai PC port and various other upcoming PC titles. Essentially, these games are going to remain as PS5 exclusive. And although live service games like Marathon and Marvel Tokon will still come to PC, single-player PlayStation exclusive games are off the table. So all of a sudden, Shed PS4, the PlayStation 4 emulator that we have covered on the channel over the years, is extremely important when it comes to playing these games on PC. But what you may not know is that Shed PS4 over the last 12 months or so since the last time we covered the emulator on the channel has seen significant improvement across the board. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it's 100% compatible with all PlayStation 4 titles, but what I will tell you is that many of the exclusive PlayStation 4 titles that are locked to the hardware are slowly but surely starting to become playable and starting to get into game, and this is a very exciting thing. Many of these games will simply never be brought to PC for various reasons. Of course, we're talking about games such as Drive Club, which is unfortunately a game that kind of fell by the wayside when Evolution Studios shut down all the way back in the early 2010s. But there's many other titles that simply won't see the light of day that are tied to the PlayStation 4 hardware, and it's a real shame to see. So Shed PS4 for me is becoming a very important emulator, and it's something that I want to cover more in today's episode. And I'm going to show off a couple of different games that are running on Shed PS4 that are tied to the PlayStation 4 hardware that I think might surprise you if you haven't seen this already. God of War 3 Remastered is a game that I tried out on Shed PS4, the latest version here, and as you can see, it runs very, very well. It hits that 60 frames per second, and there have been some users that have reported being able to play the game from start to finish. And this God of War 3 Remaster does remind me or make me think about the God of War trilogy remake that Sony announced at their State of Play, what that would look like on the PlayStation 5 hardware. But here, running via emulation, Shed PS4 is doing a pretty good job. Obviously, we have a lot of various lighting and bloom issues that need to be figured out, but overall, this is a pretty solid start. Now, of course, if you are wanting to run God of War 3 Remaster or God of War 3, then I would probably recommend RPCS3 and the various enhancements that you can apply to that game running on PlayStation 3 emulation. But I would expect over time, Shed PS4 will be the definitive way to play God of War 3 Remaster. There is already a solid foundation for this game to not only look, but run really great on the PC via emulation. So this is a very good thing, and hats off to the Shed PS4 team for doing some incredible work here. Now, another game that runs on Shed PS4 that a lot of people have kind of forgotten about is Drive Club. I can't tell you how much I really love Drive Club. It was Sony's answer to Forza Horizon, and in my opinion, it exceeds it. Evolution Studios were the masters of these styles of games, and it's just unfortunate that Evolution Studios ultimately shut down and we never saw another Drive Club game. But thanks to emulation and Shed PS4, we can now relive what I would consider one of the most underrated racing games of all time and one of the best racing games of all time, Drive Club, on PC. Now again, this is a game that is very well emulated on Shed PS4. It's not perfect. I mean, if you take a look at the sky textures, you can see off the jump there are clearly graphical issues here. But from what I've played so far, I've played a couple of hours on emulation. It's been overall a pretty good experience. As you can see, it looks fantastic running on my PC here. And these are just with the stock settings, so I'm not doing any type of internal upscaling. There are various patches that you can apply to bring this game up to internal resolution levels that are higher than the original game was intended to run at. But this is a beautiful looking game, and I'm so happy to be able to play Drive Club on my PC all these years later. And honestly, I know a lot of people ask for Bloodborne on PC, but Drive Club was really one of those games that I wanted so badly on PC, and I never quite really understood why it didn't end up on PC back in the day. But hey, thanks to PlayStation 4 emulation and Shed PS4, it is, albeit via emulation, running on PC, and that is a good thing. Now, some people may have reports that their Drive Club version is not running on Shed PS4. I will say I did have some issues with getting this game up and running. Usually it would just freeze at the title screen. So what I would recommend you do is make sure that you have your sys modules up to date. And I don't really want to talk about setting up Shed PS4. There are various other guides out there that will help you do that. But more importantly, make sure that you have the latest update, which I believe is the 1.28 update applied. Once that was applied on my Shed PS4 distribution, everything seemed to run just fine, and I didn't run into any issues. But overall, Drive Club for me, next to Bloodborne, is probably the single best reason to run Shed PS4 emulation on your PC. Fumito Ueda is one of those legendary developers that has done some incredible things on the Sony PlayStation, including games such as Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, and of course, The Last Guardian. And for me, just like Evolution Studios, losing Japan Studios was just a crushing blow when it came to all things Sony, and I've never really kind of gotten over the fact that Japan Studios is no longer around. But thanks to Shed PS4, The Last Guardian lives on, and this is really probably the definitive way to play this game right now outside of original hardware. I mean, the PlayStation 5 never received an enhanced version of this game, so it's still kind of locked down at the original resolution, which I believe is 720p or maybe 1080p, running at 30 frames per second. Now, if you were lucky enough to have the original game on disc running the 1.00 version, it did have uncapped frame rates, but unfortunately that particular version had its own issues. So then we turn to emulation. Shed PS4 does run the game very, very well. As you can see here, with various tweaks and settings, you can really dial in this game to make it look very, very good. Of course, it still has graphical issues and various lighting issues, but the game does run quite well, and this is with the 60 FPS patch that has been applied. Now, unfortunately, compatibility of this game can only really be considered to be in-game. It's not, I would consider, playable at this point. You certainly cannot finish this game right now. Early on in the game, you will get to that big pool of water, and when you jump in, it's going to crash the game every single time. And I haven't found a way to kind of get around this. But this is something that I think the team is very much aware of. The compatibility list has been documented with these types of issues. And eventually I would expect an update to Shed PS4. As we know, there are nightly updates to this emulator that addresses this issue. And this is very exciting for myself and many other fans of the game. Once again, just like Drive Club and Bloodborne, having The Last Guardian preserved and running on PC with higher resolutions and higher frame rates than originally intended is incredible, and I love playing through this game. And once again, it's an absolute shame that this game will never see the light of day outside of the PlayStation 4, and it's tied to that system forever. Unfortunately, we'll never see that PC version, so this is the next best thing to get us there. Gravity Rush is a game that did not start its life on the PlayStation 4, but the remastered version is considered the definitive way to play the game. This is running on Shed PS4, and I'm told, I haven't done this myself, I am told that the game is fully playable from start to finish, albeit with some crashes along the way. I did play the first section of the game, and it ran flawlessly for me, no issues whatsoever. And of course, a lot of people are now wondering about Gravity Rush 2. I wasn't able to test Gravity Rush 2, but looking at various videos of other YouTubers and other things that I've read on the compatibility list suggests that Gravity Rush 2 is getting into game with the 0.41 working progress release of the particular emulator. So this is very, very exciting news that the Gravity Rush games are slowly starting to become playable on Shed PS4. Like I said, Gravity Rush 1 runs exceptionally well, and overall this is a very good way to play this game. I'm a big fan of the Gravity Rush games. Again, this is one of those franchises that just fell away with the demise and closure of Japan Studio. It was truly a sad day in video games when we lost Japan Studios. I mean, a lot of the games that I'm talking about in this particular episode were developed by Japan Studios, and that's not a coincidence. They did some incredible things on the PlayStation 4, and unfortunately, Sony never really put enough stock and faith into that studio to really get these games on PC. Now, a lot of people are going to ask me about PT, the Silent Hills demo that was released by Konami and Hideo Kojima. This obviously was something that started and ended its life as a playable demo on the PlayStation, and it promptly got removed from the PlayStation Store. So unless you have it tied to your account, then officially, unless you have a hacked PS4, there is no way for you to play PT. So the question is, can we play PT on Shed PS4? Well, yes, but mostly no. PT can certainly be launched and it can get into game, but as you can see here, there are a lot of graphical issues that really just take you out of the experience. This is not something that I would even consider playable. This is really more of a passing curiosity. This is one of those go-to titles that I test every single time I update Shed PS4, and in the past, it's never even launched. It's always crashed very, very early on. So seeing this actually get into game for the very first time, at least for me, is very, very exciting. There's still a long way to go, obviously, but if we can preserve PT and have it running via emulation on a PC with Shed PS4, that is incredible progress. And I can't stress this enough how great this is, especially for fans of Silent Hill. The rapid acceleration in the compatibility that I've seen is just mind-blowing. And I think now a lot more focus is on an emulator such as Shed PS4, because once again, it seems like we're not going to be getting these single-player experiences from the PlayStation onto the PC, which includes PlayStation 4 games. But if you do have a handheld device or a beefy PC and you want to check out PlayStation 4 emulation, I think you'll be quite surprised at some of the things it can do. It's definitely come a long way in a short amount of time. And just kudos to the Shed PS4 team, Giorgio's. I know they're doing an incredible job with this emulator. And look, I'm going to check back here in 6 months, 12 months, and see how things have progressed. If there's been any significant updates between now and then, we'll definitely cover them on the channel as well. But we're going to leave it here for today's episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this episode, please don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, and we will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.